Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to Marotta Media. So today's review is going to be about a different type of movie, and that movie was Jackass Forever. Jackass Forever is the fourth installment in the franchise of Jackass movies, and the first since Jackass 3D, which came out in 2010. Now, you guys know the basic premise of Jackass. It's a bunch of guys doing stunts where they get seriously injured, cause themselves very serious bodily harm, and they do it all for our entertainment and enjoyment. And I just have to applaud them for that. Now, this is a movie that I did not expect to make a video on. I went into this movie, just wanting to have a good time, and I wasn't really worried about making a review, but I walked out of this movie and I had a lot more thoughts than I had anticipated, and I just had to get them out there. And the reason for that is that, one, my theater experience watching this movie was probably the best one that I will have all year. Two, this movie was a lot of fun. And three, this is definitely the best Jackass movie to date, and it's not particularly close. But I came to the conclusion that I was going to review this movie very early on. In fact, right from the opening sequence of Jackass Forever, I knew that I was going to make a video about this. Because this is definitely the best intro that Jackass has ever had. And the reason it was so good is because it was presented and shot like it was an actual film. And what I mean by actual film is that it's shot like it has an actual narrative, like there's a story involved. And in the opening sequence of this movie, which feels like it's setting up a different movie entirely, they incorporate stunts within it. And the whole thing was just so amazing. It's so absurd, raunchy, and just overall ridiculous, but it's Jackass, so that's exactly how you want it. Now, I won't give away what the intro is, because I want people to see it for themselves, but believe me, you are going to enjoy it. But that was just a precursor for how this entire movie was going to go, because Jackass Forever just has this cinematic sort of vibe to it. This movie had a pretty ridiculous amount of camera angles, so that way you were able to see all of the stunts from so many different places. And the editing is so fluid, the way that it jumps from one camera angle to the other, the continuity is just spot on. And I feel they took some inspiration from themselves, because in Jackass 3D they used a lot of slow motion, and I think that was to incorporate the 3D elements of the movie. But in this one they also used a lot of slow motion, and I feel like it really added to the overall sense of danger and excitement of these stunts. I really find it amazing just how much better each movie has gotten in terms of content and quality-wise. Because the first Jackass movie just looks awful. Now, I know that may be a little harsh because that movie came out in 2000 and cameras were still pretty primitive at that time, but come on, if you look back at that movie, there's movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that look a lot better than that movie does. But each movie has looked progressively better, and Jackass Forever looks the best that it ever has. But it's not just in terms of the quality that each movie has gotten a substantial boost, it's also in terms of the content. I feel like they got a lot more creative with each movie, and Jackass Forever just took that to an all-time high. They really got creative with this one, because a lot of the stunts or pranks, that they pull on each other sometimes, they had elements that I wasn't expecting. Like, there's moments of suspense and surprise where the victim doesn't really know what's coming. So we as an audience are in the same boat as them. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're watching from the comfort of our seats in a big theater while they're living it and fearing for their lives. Now, I know that that's not necessarily a new thing because they've always fucked with each other and pranked each other and surprised everybody, but I feel like in this movie they took it a step further. And one thing that one of my friends pointed out to me as we were leaving the movie is that this movie felt like they kind of did away with the gross out humor. Because in the past there were some stunts that these guys did did that would cause themselves and several people around them to begin vomiting pretty profusely. And I don't know, in a way I kind of appreciate that. This may not be the best word to use, but it feels more mature. But I don't know, I kind of appreciated that it didn't rely too heavily on gross out humor. Although there are a few moments here and there in Jackass Forever that are pretty disgusting and feature people puking. One moment even got me to gag out loud, it was that bad. But they weren't too over the top with it, and I really like that about this one. But aside from the stunts, the backbone of Jackass has always been just the banter and the chemistry that these guys all have with one another. Because just the way they play off each other is so freaking hilarious, and it just puts a smile on your face. It feels very pure. But they added a bunch of new people to this movie who I believe are going to take over in the future, because a lot of the original guys are in their late 40s, early 50s, so they're pretty old, you know, they can't do this forever. But even just the chemistry with them was so rewarding to watch. It felt like they've known them their whole lives. And this was so refreshing to see, because I was very worried how this movie would play out, because it did not feature Ryan Dunn or Bam Margera. Ryan Dunn tragically passed away in a car accident in 2011, and Bam was a part of this movie, but he got kicked out because he kind of has a lot of problems that he needs to sort out in his own life. But I was worried that the chemistry would suffer without them, and it did not. Now that is not a knock on Bam or Dunn, because I feel if they were included, this movie would have been just as good. The fact that they weren't there isn't really more of a testament on them, it's just more of a testament as to how well these guys get along with one another. So if you took one out, they're still gonna be the same, and I love that. But that being said, I surprisingly had some complaints about this movie, and I didn't really expect that at all. But the biggest complaint that I had is that Jackass Forever ends rather abruptly. Because the previous movies had a big, extravagant ending, and you knew that this was the ending. Like, Jackass number 2 had a big musical dance sequence, and Jackass 3D had the guys in a room that was exploding around them. So it was very obvious that that was the end of the movie, but even though the ending stunt in this movie is very huge and very extravagant, I wanted more. I didn't feel like it was a good note to end on. It kind of caught me by surprise, because when it faded to black and the credits started rolling, I was like, that's it? Really? That's where it's gonna end? No, keep going. End it on something bigger, because I know you can. And something else that kind of bugged me, but this, I can't really count this as a complaint towards the movie. This is more of a me thing. So in the movie, there's a setup for a prank involving one of the guys where he's being interviewed and they ask him what his favorite moment on Jackass has been that he's been a part of. And he's talking about a moment that he was involved in that he really enjoyed, and then, you know, they prank him. I won't reveal how, because you'll see it, and I think it's better if you're surprised. But I think that would have been a really good idea to include that throughout the movie. If they interviewed all the original guys and just talked to them about the journey that they've been on doing Jackass for most of their lives, then I think that would have been really cool. Because like I mentioned, these guys are all old, and I believe this is going to be the last Jackass movie that they do before they hand it off to the newbies. But I definitely understand why they didn't do that, because that's not what people came to see. They just came to see ridiculous stunts and pranks. Like I said, that's more of a me thing, so I can't really fault the movie for that. It's just something that I would have personally liked to see. But other than that, Jackass Forever is a hella fucking good time. But like I said, this was the best theater experience I had all year by far. Watching this in a crowded theater where most of it was full and just people laughing and just hitting things because they were laughing so hard, it truly was a memorable experience. Jackass Forever has everything that you want from Jackass. People getting hurt, people puking, and lots of close-ups of male genitalia. If you're a fan of Jackass, then believe me, this movie will not disappoint you. I loved it, and I'm gonna go see it again this weekend, and I cannot wait. And overall, I'm going to give Jackass Forever a 9 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of Jackass Forever. If you guys saw this movie, then let me know what you thought about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? But I refuse to believe that there was anybody who actually hated it. If you did, what was your favorite stunt? What's your favorite Jackass movie? Because mine is definitely this one. If you guys like this review, then be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews, then I'll link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day. I will see you all next time.